Hey, this is Scott Photography Banzai. In this video, I'm going to go over this Nikon COOLPIX B500. Thanks to Cameracraft in Rockford, Illinois for letting me try this out at their shop. The B500 is a prosumer extreme zoom camera. That zoom lens I mentioned goes from 22.5 to 900mm equivalent focal length, so definitely a huge range. It also has a 1 cm, 0.39 inch macro mode, so you can get some close shots as well. It has a tilting 3-inch screen. It does not fully articulate, but you do get vertical adjustments to the screen, which is good, especially in the macro mode. This camera does not have any type of viewfinder. You have to use the back screen to compose your photographs. One of the interesting features of this camera is use AA batteries, 4 to be exact. Definitely many years back, AA's were more of a thing, but if you are interested in having a very common battery for your camera, this is an option. I'm a little surprised the estimated battery life for the batteries is 600 shots, so not too bad in that case. This camera does have a built-in flash, but it does not have any type of hot shoe. So at the very least, you do have some type of flash capability with this camera. It does have Bluetooth connectivity, which is pretty standard these days, especially for the prosumer and consumer level cameras. Video-wise, 1080p, 30 frames a second. It does have some type of high frames per second mode, 100 and 120 frames per second, but it's in very low resolutions. Oddly, it does have a little bit of internal storage for pictures, around 20 megabytes. Definitely not very useful, but it is in there if you happen to forget an SD card. The SD card slot itself is near the batteries, which is pretty standard for this type of camera. So let's get into some of the negatives of this camera. It isn't really pocketable. The lens has a massive extension when it's fully zoomed, and when you try to zoom the lens, it's very lethargic, extremely slow to zoom in and out. However, there is one feature which we'll get to that helps you with zooming. With a camera like this, there's always a type of delay that is involved when turning it on, because it adjusts the zoom lens to a certain focal length from when it's fully compacted into the camera. So there is going to always be a bit of delay before you can take a photo. The camera does have a tripod mount, which is nice, but it's not in line with the lens, which is not especially great for panoramas and situations where it would be good to be in line with the lens. Ports wise, pretty standard stuff. However, it does have a jack for DC power, which is interesting, but you'll probably need some type of proprietary connector and power brick if you wanted to do that. So let's get to the positives of this camera. It's a super zoom camera. You have a huge range of focal lengths. You can use it for almost any situation. It covers pretty much everything you would want related to focal length. The camera itself does have a traditional prosumer, almost DSLR look to it. It's relatively large, but the grip is nice in the hand, and I didn't have any issues accessing any of the controls or using the camera from a functional standpoint. So as I mentioned before with the slow zoom lens, it has a special zoom feature with this button that looks like a little square with arrows. When you're zoomed out, you can hold that button down and you get a quick zoom adjustment to a wider focal length. That way you can compose your framing and get an idea of where you're pointing, and then you can zoom back out. This makes the extreme zoom a little more functional and easier to use, especially considering the slow zoom lens. Thanks to David at Cameracraft for pointing that feature out to me. All that said, this is pretty standard prosumer level camera. If you are looking for an extreme zoom, you want a small camera, especially as small as possible for that level of zoom. This is an option. There are so many out there though. You can get a used one for significantly cheaper, but you can also find similar models around with a large focal length range. It is missing a viewfinder. It's missing some features you would expect these days, like a touch screen, but it does at least have that tilting screen, allowing you to compose photos from waist level or above the head more easily with that tilting screen. This camera doesn't do anything especially well or different than other cameras similar to it. Does have the AA batteries, which can be nice if you're into that very versatile, easy to find battery type. It does have that button to deal with zoom more easily. So there are a few things in benefit to this camera, but I don't see too much. So if you're interested, definitely try it out and see if it feels good in the hands for you. But besides that, decent little camera, but there are a lot of options out there similar to it. So that was Nikon COOLPIX B500. Hope you enjoyed this video, a little quick hands-on. Again, thanks to Cameracraft in Rockford, Illinois for letting me try this out at their shop. Thanks again.